sat there for an hour telling her about the fund and all the kids it had helped. The support group had rented a room at the community center, and 12 families showed up, each with a photo of their child and a candle to light. We went around the circle, and everyone said their child's name and age, and one thing they loved most about them. When it was my turn, I said Pia, 8 years old, and that she used to make up songs about everything, even boring stuff like brushing teeth or putting on socks. The woman next to me squeezed my hand, and we all sat there in this circle of grief that somehow made it bearable to keep breathing. 3 weeks later, a thick envelope arrived from my parents' lawyer. Inside was a formal request asking permission to place flowers on Pia's grave for her birthday next month. My hands shook as I read their carefully worded plea about how they just wanted to honor their granddaughter's memory. I called Winifred immediately and had her draft a response that they'd forfeited that right when they chose their pride over her life. The letter went out that same day, and I blocked their lawyer's number from my phone. Meanwhile, the Pia Memorial Fund kept growing faster than I'd ever imagined. Donations poured in from strangers who'd followed the story online, and within 2 months we had enough to hire a part-time coordinator. Her name was Rosanna, and she'd lost her own son to kidney disease 5 years ago. She understood exactly why this mattered, and threw herself into the work with the kind of dedication that only comes from personal loss. We started helping 2 families a month with everything from gas money for dialysis trips, to covering insurance copays, to just being there when they needed someone who understood. Each family got a care package with gift cards, information packets, and a handwritten note letting them know they weren't alone. The rage I carried didn't disappear, but it changed into something else. It settled deep in my bones, cold and permanent like the grief itself. I stopped waiting for it to go away because I understood now that some things become part of you forever. The anger was there when I woke up and when I went to sleep, and I'd made peace with carrying it for the rest of my life. Every Sunday I went to the cemetery and sat by Pia's headstone for an hour. I'd bring fresh daisies because those were her favorite, and I'd tell her about the families we were helping. About the little boy in Toledo whose transplant surgery got scheduled thanks to our advocacy work. About the teenage girl whose family could finally afford the special diet she needed because we covered their grocery bills. About the grandmother who cried when we paid for her grandson's medications for 3 months. I knew Pia would be proud that something good came from all this pain. The truth hit me one morning as I was reviewing fund applications at my kitchen table. Revenge hadn't fixed anything, and the justice we got was only partial at best. My parents lost their freedom, but Pia was still gone. The criminal case gave us some accountability, but it couldn't bring her back. What I had now was survival, and the choice to use that survival to help other families avoid our tragedy. It had to be enough because it was all I had left. The fund kept growing, and more volunteers joined, and we expanded to 3 neighboring states. Each success story was a tiny light in the darkness, proof that Pia's death meant something beyond just loss and rage and broken hearts. Thanks for exploring all these questions with me today. I really loved wondering about things together. Hope to share more curiosity with you soon. And if you made it to the end, drop a comment. I love reading all your comments.